So recently I was watching a few videos. It's funny because all of them were related to the same topic that day, even though they weren't like necessarily the same creator or just like it just kind of was funny that they were all like talking about the same thing. So basically, one of them was Aku, because you guys know I like my boy Aku. Basically, he was talking about how his friend is having trouble dating or something like that. And he was like trying to help him get some dates on Tinder. I was thinking about like the things that he was saying about the conversation, and I think there's like a bunch of examples that he talked about that I actually use unknowingly. And there's also like another one. Okay, so the other one was also Chris Williamson. It was a short that I saw where he was saying like, "Oh, being interesting and being interested are two different ways to like have a conversation. Most people try to be interested. Most people try to be interesting, but you can also just try to be interested, and that usually changes like the reception that you get. Like you can make it instead of about you can instead of trying to like impress the other person, you can try to make it about like what they can teach you. And he was saying in the video, it was pretty funny because he was saying like, I don't know why people don't really do this very often, because you can just like take a back seat and be like, entertain me, spin me a tale. He was saying it as a joke. I'll link both of them in the description probably. Anyways, it's just got me thinking about like how I actually use these things most of the time in my day to day, and I don't really notice it. So the thing is, most people, it's like Chris said, they are trying to be interesting, they're trying to impress. They try to be funny, knowledgeable, charismatic, and try to like carry the conversation. But you don't really need to do that. Like sometimes, if you think about it, if you talk to enough people, you start to like realize, okay, maybe I have, oh, maybe there are other interesting things that people can teach me that I don't know, and maybe it's not just about me talking about what I'm interested. I think this is like a skill that is really underdeveloped for some reason. So, just don't try to impress people all the time. Don't try to like carry conversations. You can always just be like, what are you into? And then just like talk about like that. That's something that I've noticed work for me, trying to make friends or things like that. Basically, being interested is just like less effort if you think about it in the conversation. It doesn't mean it's less skill, and we're gonna talk about this later. Doesn't mean it's necessarily less skill, but it is less effort. You just basically have to ask probing questions to people, figure out what they actually care about, and then you can use those to basically determine what you want to talk about, or like what they want to talk about in the conversation. So, like, one big mistake that I see a lot is that people just like either talk about themselves, or they seem to be like afraid to talk about themselves. We'll talk about this later too. But basically, people tend to really care about some things, at least one thing, and they usually are not able to share their excitement outside of certain communities where they interact with people. So if you show that you're willing to listen to what they're talking about, then you kind of become more you kind of become like an attractive figure without having to have much charisma. You basically become like a person that they feel safe talking to and that they want to return to. So basically, this works because, also think about it this way, people. This is a really well known thing. You've probably heard it, whoever's listening, before. But people don't care about what you say, but they care about how you make them feel. So before you start trying to connect with people, you have to make them feel interesting. And this is the same way that they keep you like using systems like ChatGPT, for example, because regardless of if it's a good system, it's like it just agrees with you. Anyways, that I when I kind of digress there, but sometimes you can choose to be interested, or if you're not interested, pretend to be. This Aku was also talking about this, that I've done this in the past. Some when you talk to people, even if they say something you're not really interested in, just like pretend you are and keep probing them, and that's how you find out like things that are actually like interesting to you. For example, some of the things I've learned from talking to strangers that I never knew were like so big is like I don't really care for rap. So I learned about rap from talking to people. I've also learned about um, beatbox. Funnily enough, I learned about airplanes. I learned about taxidermy. All these things that are just like so random, and you just learn them from like letting people talk, because it's just like people have different hobbies and they're like just let people talk, man. Like you don't never know what they're gonna be saying. People tend to be really knowledgeable about things, because think about it this way: you have a lot of free time, you might spend a lot of time investigating things that you really care about. I know, for example, a lot of people really care about like cars and guns for some reason. So those are things like I know a lot of people have really talked to me about. But yeah, there's just like different things that you can learn about if you just like let people talk. And then usually, so you can pretend that you're interested, let them talk. Usually the interest comes later. This is true. This has happened to me like so many times. It's just like obviously not all the time. There are some people that are just generally not interesting. But I don't think it's a good idea to be judgmental, because you can generally find something that you have in common and something to talk about regardless. And also, if people feel judged, or like you're being judgmental, they're not really gonna be as open. So you lose the ability to basically to connect with them on that front. But yeah, I mean, there's just different things you can do to pro people. Some of the my favorite ones is talking about music, because people generally talk about like really care about the music they listen to, and if they like something they will usually tell you what, or like why, or you can also kind of piece that together with like things they care about in their lives. A good thing to ask, for example, is like, oh, what do you do for fun, or like what kind of music do you listen to, and then you can go from there. So people, those are like the type of probing questions you want to ask, as opposed to just like coming in and being like, oh, I really like this. What do you think about this? Basically, but it's also weird because like some people, I don't know if we're socially conditioned for this, but some people just like try to hijack the conversation, or like feel like performative in a way, or like be impressive if you let them do it. So, for example, I don't know why. This is mostly like people that are really into things, I guess, because maybe it's because they don't get the chance to talk about it very much, like I was saying earlier. But for example, think of it this way: oh, what games do you like? And then I'm gonna give you two examples. Oh, I like games. And then here's example one. Oh, nice. What genre do you like? I'm actually into systemic design and philosophy of immersive sims since the early 2000s. I actually care a lot about how games in the modern day have altered the trajectory of what players are able to do, and how it gives it basically an illusion of freedom, where you actually have curated experiences that are hard to break from, and then those are usually the games that become mainstream. So it's usually hard to notice the games that actually give you freedom and let you interact with the environment. No, bro, nobody wants to hear that. You're just That's like some tweaker thing. So basically, that's like what I'm trying to tell you. Like you want to try to avoid this for yourself. So if people tell you, "Oh, I'm into games." Okay, cool. I play too. What do you like to play? Or what's your favorite game? These are like the type of questions that are like more adjacent to what you want to try and ask, because like notice like the first guy went into like the analysis of like the mechanics from the early 2000s. The second one, like maybe this guy isn't really that into games. Maybe that's just something he does like in his free time every Friday, or like when his friends are want to hop on Fortnite or something. So now you've explained something that like this guy doesn't really care much for. Some people might care about games, but you've already like gave him like this long explanation of something he doesn't really care for. So yeah, just don't try to like force relevance in the conversation, or don't try to like hijack it. Like usually just guide the conversation into something that can feel a little bit more to the point where both of you can talk. So another point of this is people that are just like always say me too, or always try to appear like knowledgeable about things. This is also like a bad practice. If you talk to people, you don't necessarily have to find common ground. I think that's something I used to do a lot as well before I was like really interested in bettering my skills talking to strangers. So basically, if you talk to somebody, they can be like, "Oh, I don't know, I like rock." And you can be like, "Oh, me too." And then, "Oh, I like horror movies." "Oh, me too." It's like you don't have to like everything they like, man. Like you can have preferences too. Like, "Oh, I like rock." And you can be like, "Oh, that's cool. I like some types of metal, but I don't like all sorts of rock. What type of rock do you like?" And then they can like elaborate on it. And that's like different ways that you can make it so that the conversation feels more about like connection itself, rather than you trying to like fish for similarities or trying to prove something. Like you don't have to know about everything. A lot of the times you can tell people like, I don't really know about that, and then they will like proceed to tell you. Like I remember I was playing a visual novel with a friend. This is kind of funny. We actually been friends for a long time, so I'm not sure this is relevant. But I asked him like, "Hey, what truck is that?" Like there was a truck in the visual novel. It seems familiar. What truck is that? And he was like, "You know what? You're right." And then he paused the game and he like took like a good 5 minutes to figure out what truck it was. And then he was like, "Oh, this is like this truck. It's unique because of this, because he likes cars, I think." So it was bugging him that he couldn't find it, and I brought it up, and I learned a little bit about the trucks. But yeah, it's just like feel open to expressing that you don't necessarily know everything, or you don't necessarily have to be familiar with like whatever they're telling you. Maybe, "Oh, I really like, I don't know, this technique for lighting in my models." I don't know, like I make models in like Blender or something, and I like this technique for lighting. And you can be like, "Oh, that's cool. I've never actually used Blender. How is that?" And then you give them space to like open and like start conversing about this. And this is usually what gives people the chance to like make more personal friendships easily. Obviously, this is not gonna work all the time. Not every interaction is interesting. Not everybody is interesting. I know that's like a bit rude to say, but it is what it is. Just like you're not necessarily gonna find something that you like just because you listen to people. But at least you give them the chance to like tell you what they're about, tell you a little bit about their world. Sometimes you might not even know that these worlds exist without talking to others. Like it's crazy, bro. I didn't know like beatboxing was like so big, and there's like different techniques. But yeah, I digress. So this is, in my opinion, how friendships can be formed. This is like a way that you can get closer to people really quickly, and maybe two or three interactions. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about the skill. I was saying how like I forgot to talk about the skill, but I was saying like this is something that has its own set of skills. Yeah, because so You need to be curious. You need to be able to take mental notes and remember things. And you need to be able to follow up and listen to what people say. So, what I'm trying to say with this is, for example, some people, you will talk to them and it will just come in one ear and out the other. No, you gotta pay attention. You gotta care about what they're saying. It's not all about you. So, just basically like try to remember what they've been telling you, and then you can keep mental notes. This is what I was doing when I was trying to make a lot of friends, because I take, sometimes I get like really excited to make friends, so I just start talking to a lot of strangers at the same time. But basically, I just kept like a mental note, like, oh, this guy, he is into like racing. Let me talk to him about like races and cars and all that things, and like ask him about these things. And like, oh, this guy right here, he's into astrology, for example. Let me just talk to him about like this kind of things. Oh, this girl, she's into anime. So let me talk to her about like this anime that she told me she likes, and then I can recommend some similar ones as well, or like tell her about something I've enjoyed. So it's kind of like that. I just keep like mental notes of what people have been telling you, and then the conversation just feels like smoother. And also, it sometimes, depending on where you're doing it, I wouldn't recommend this. But if, because this is like a skill that you can get better at remembering, and it's also good for your day to day. But if you really need to, you can keep notes on like a note app, like a note taking app. I know some people that do that. Or like, for example, if you use Discord, Discord has like a notes thing that only you can see them. So you can take like a note, like, oh, this person likes you can just write it like, oh, this person likes this book that I also liked. And then you have something in common that you can talk to them if you need to. Follow up later as well, because a lot of people, they are a little bit shy to reach out the first few times. So follow up with people. Just, it can be something dumb. Like, for example, one of my friends really likes Hatsune Miku. So whenever I see like a cool Miku song, or like a cool like a cute video with Miku, I usually think of her and I just like send it to her. And it's just like a follow up. It's just like, hey, I was thinking of you. I sent you this video. Obviously, you don't need to say that. I just like link her the video. It's just like, here you go. And then it's like, it's just like a good way to keep up with people, because people like to be thought of. People like to be, remembered. So these are just like some of the things I do to like try to make friends. But yeah, people really like it when you like talk to them about things that they're really interested in. I don't know why. I didn't, so the guy in the video was talking about it. Aku was talking about it in dating. I actually don't really, I basically, I can see that, but I also think like it works for making friends, because like the thing is, it does work. I don't know why, but with girls, it seems that like for some reason they don't really get the chance to express themselves as much as with men, for whatever reason. So when you talk to women, they tend to, and you like let them talk, they tend to like be more open. It's probably a social thing. They tend to be more happy about it, and they like reach out to you more. But I think it's like a social thing, because a lot of the times they don't really like, they're not really allowed to like express themselves as much as men, I guess, because men kind of like take over the conversation, and then they just, or they can be like really, or unless they're like really extroverted. It also really works with like shy people. Man, I don't like talking about it this way. It kind of sounds like a little bit sleazy, but I'm just telling you what has worked, man. It doesn't have to be weird unless you make it weird. Like, these are just things that make people feel like you're connected to them, or like you're trying to learn about their world without feeling overwhelming, or feeling needy, or feeling like you're taking their space. It's just a thing that you can do to create some sort of attachment, even from your part, because like I said, you being interested in people and like the things that they say is not something that you're faking. It's something that you're first you're doing it actively. You're being like, tell me about this. And then when they tell you about it, then you're not doing it actively anymore. You're just listening to what they tell you, and that is making you want to learn more about this subject. So in the end, you end up coming back to them because you're interested in what they have to say. You're not really like, originally it might just be like, you don't really care, but it ends up being like you do care and you want to learn more about these things, and then you reach out to the people that you know knows about it. That's just how it is. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just like how connections are made in general. Also, like, I don't know if it's just me, but sometimes when I've been talking about me for like myself for a while, I just kind of like get bored of like talking about me. So instead, I just want to listen to what other people have to say. This is how it started for me. This is how I found out about this originally. I just kind of like got tired of telling people like, "Hey, I'm a game design student. I do this, I do that. I like piano. I watch anime." And I was just like, "Man, it's getting old. I'm just gonna like let people tell me about it instead, like about them, because I'm not learning anything when I'm sharing it." But for some reason, people's favorite subject to talk about is themselves. So even though for me it was just kind of like, eventually it just got like to the point where I was like, I don't really want to talk about it. For other people, it might be like the first time that they get the chance to. So just let them talk about it. It's not like, it's like a little act of kindness as well when you're just having a conversation and people like it. People like it when you give them a chance to talk. I feel like, unfortunately, in today's world, not a lot of people get a chance to be heard, which is really sad. But yeah, because of it, there's like, they just like to have the chance to talk about like the things they like. But yeah, that's just what I think. Anyways, see ya.